Hello, friends. Oh, wait. Let's go to this scene. Hello, everyone. How are we going? See, Zero and Aberman are here. How's it going? Zero, you said you're second. I don't actually see a first there. Maybe there was someone who posted earlier? Who knows? Anyway, hello, Halogen. How's it going? Oh, I'm the first. Yes, maybe I count as first. But then, do I always count as first? Or I have seen someone post like when the stream isn't up yet and it's like a day in advance and stuff. Like that person feels like maybe they were first. Who knows? Um, what are we doing today? I love how so part of this whole streaming thing has been like do this like a hobby, but try to do this like a healthy hobby, which means you do it when you're doing it. You don't spend too much time thinking about it or stressing about it when you're not actually in the moment and doing it. So sometimes I have an idea for what I'm going to do in the stream and I think to myself, this is like over the past few days, and it's like um Everyone's array indexing. Yeah, so the first person should have been the 0th. Yeah. Because I actually turned down working in Lua for this project specifically. Well, it wasn't only because of the array thing, but it was partially because of arrays. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so because I want to do this as a hobby and I want to do it as like a healthy hobby, that means what I'm trying to do is don't get caught up in doing hours and hours of prep for each stream, and also don't get, because that's like one of the things that kind of stopped me from trying to become like a YouTuber kind of thing, where like you end up um call it, you end up just spending hours and hours and hours doing all these recordings and stuff, and it's like, this is supposed to be chill, so this is my chill Monday night where I don't do anything else, but I don't necessarily go for like days and days to make sure I'm ready for the particular stream. So sometimes I'll come in and go, wait up, what am I actually doing? Zero, yeah, it becomes work, yeah. And I think let's look at concurrent viewers currently at 4 of you. So I'd say this is a very like friend thing, and it's not like it's not like I've got an audience or anything yet. I think if the viewers got up to like, I don't know, couple of hundred concurrent people or something like that, then I would be like, all right, maybe there's a thing going on here and I want to actually like put some effort in and make sure it works and stuff. Although that would also be ironic, I think, because if I got a lot of viewers, that would mean whatever I'm doing is working. So I shouldn't change it. So basically, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, which is be completely unprepared each session, other than I know where I was last time. I know vaguely what I wanted to do, and what I think I might want to do next. So, last time, let's go across to this scene. Last time, we looked at one of the parts. It was just this one small part of the GD Quest Godot script tutorial. Let's see if I can find it again. I think it was in the getting started. Was it introduction? Learn to code with GD script. Yeah. Oh, I didn't want to go in this window. Let me go into another window. Okay, so there was a lesson that was something about accessing values in arrays. I think this is the one. Yes. And it was this one here where there were a couple of issues that I had that was like, one, it's hard to know exactly what you're supposed to do based on this text. And also we had this kind of mismatch where there was a variable here with your inventory, and your inventory is empty, yet there is an inventory over here that is populated. And the mismatch between these two was throwing off, like, it threw me off, and it was throwing off other people as well. So the issue, the feedback that was brought up on their actual repo said, someone else, a couple of other people said, oh, I had a weird issue with this, where I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. Some people were like, because of this text, we're going to loop through and look for these things, except you can't text match on them, so it wasn't working, because this array here is actually an array of nodes, which are a concept that they did not want to reveal at this point in time, because it's kind of irrelevant to learning how to access an array. Like, in the very first time you look at an array, you want it to be pretty simple. So here, yeah, there are these game objects, but they're not necessarily, you don't want to have to think about them like that. What they're asking people to do here is just basically use item. Whoa! It's like typing too many brackets and they keep auto-completing. So use something in the inventory at a particular location. So if you want to equip a sword and a shield here, we can do a 0, and this is the sword equipped. So all they wanted people to do was to learn how to address into an array. The only problem is, if you know anything about arrays, this feels strange. So there is no implication that you can access element 0 of this array. So that looks bad there. Even though these are not in order, this is not inside a main function or anything like that, it still feels bad. So, yeah. And also, at this stage of someone learning coding from scratch, we're not expecting them to understand that this doesn't run in order. So if we're going to put this in front of this, the expectation is this is what we're accessing when we do this. And if it's empty, it kind of doesn't work. So we dug through their repo and had a look, and there was something interesting about this, that they were randomizing the contents of this container, and then they were explicitly putting 6 and 8 as a sword and a shield. So all of them are random, and then they overwrite 6 and 8. And they just did that as like a mildly hacky way to guarantee that there was a sword and a shield somewhere in the inventory. Hello, Mitchell. How's it going? I'm just kind of explaining the situation. So, we found this. I think, Halogen, did you find this one? And people were saying, okay, lesson 23, that's where we are. Practice using the right items. Task is unclear, maybe teaching bad habits or hard coding values. Yes, it is 100% teaching hard coding values, but it's trying to teach people to access elements in an array. Mitchell, I'm good. Yes, what did I do? I spent the whole weekend doing nothing. I think there was a part of me when the weekend came up, and I was like, oh, there's a big kind of Lego thing happening out at Homebush, and I should probably go and check out the Lego just for the fun of it. And then, like, on Saturday, I was like, I can't be bothered. And then Sunday, I woke up late, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not going. I feel like I should have bought a ticket in advance, and then that would have convinced me to go. But, so, instead, I just had a chill weekend, which is okay. Anyway, so this person said, like, they're kind of looping over to find it, because this here implies kind of, we need you to find them in the array. So find them in the array kind of has the implication that you need to look through this to find it, not it's laid out here and it's really easy to find. So there was a few issues there, and one was that this looks empty. And And the other one is this implies search, not just access. So I think we needed to make it more clear that the items are here and visible, and you just need to pick out the right numbers. Because this is not meant to be that difficult. This is meant to teach people that you can access elements via index. So, other people were... Ooh, added content. I don't know whether that's content or just tags on that. Anyway, this is the developer and said, yes, thank you for the feedback. Yeah, we're sure we are aware of these issues and stuff like that, but Nathan here is busy working on other things and so can't necessarily fix this right now. He says, I thought we reused the inventory example after this lesson close to what you suggest with dictionaries, but I'll have to check again. So maybe. I think Nathan's view of this is different from ours because there's a free section of learning GD script, and then there's a paid section, which is a full kind of like learn how to use Godot. And I think when you get into that, there's probably a lot more detail and there's a lot more work that he's had to do to get this kind of all going. This one's also... Yeah, this one also said, found it unclear how to complete the task. I believe my issue is because the inventory array shown in the code was empty. And I had exactly the same issue where I saw that lesson. I was like, I don't know what to do here. And they're like, didn't make much sense to iterate over or index into an empty array. Thought it might have to populate the array. I can't remember what I did first time, but I think I tried to put items into the inventory, like not knowing what they were to begin with. Turns out the array is actually populated. So I tried approaching the problem the same way, ran into the same issues. You cannot link through the inventory because they're not strings. So you can't actually go through and say, does this item equal a string? Because none of the items equal strings because they're nodes. So I agreed with this one very much because it was similar. And someone else said, as a programmer with pretty good grasp of other languages, the intention of this question confused the hell out of them. Fair enough. Confused me too. It wasn't very clear from the question what you're supposed to actually look at the output window. Oh, that you're supposed to look at the output window. Okay, so Nathan said thank you to everyone. This is February this year, so it's not that stale, me jumping in here. Plate's really full, not finding time to make improvements to the app, but it sounds good. So we spent last stream investigating this, and so I posted here just saying, look, I agreed with some of the points in this issue, so I decided to poke into the repo, see if I could help. I looked through code, noticed that the inventory is being randomly generated, then 6 to 8 items. Items 6 and 8 are being made in sword and shield just to guarantee at least one of each. Starting code has the empty inventory, but it looks like you can't access a randomly generated container from here. So we couldn't even find, like we spent a while, we couldn't even find the code that randomly generated this, which makes me think that the code that's randomly generating it is somewhere else. Somewhere else, possibly in the kind of visual GUI of Godot that doesn't necessarily have any code in the repo, but it's somewhere else. Like, I know Unity has a similar thing where there's like the structure of how all the objects are laid out is in this kind of tree hierarchy in the visual editor, and your scripts are attached to individual objects, but you don't get to see what is actually running the overall thing because the engine is doing that. And I think that that might be the case. So that's why we couldn't see that, and we couldn't access the randomly generated container where we're creating the starting code, because the starting code is like hard coding the text. It's more of like a markdown kind of thing than it is a running piece of code. So I said one option would be to hard code the contents of the container, because it doesn't need to be randomized. You know, it could be the same every time and it wouldn't matter. People would be fine with learning the lesson with the same container, because it's rare, I think, for anyone to do it more than once, because once you understand it, you don't need to do it again. So if we hard code the contents of the container and then put the matching contents in the starting code, they would look the same. So we would get a situation where this thing here would say can't remember if it was underscore. Probably not, right? Because these are like, so it would say something like this, etc. I shouldn't put those dots in there. That's going to be an error. But anyway, yeah. So it would go through this and go, okay, that's a sword, that's a shield, that's a healing heart, that's the gem, that's another gem, etc. And then you don't even need to make sure the 6 and the 8 are a sword and a shield, because you've just guaranteed somewhere else in this it's a sword and a shield. Then you could just access this knowing that you're accessing that, and it would make sense to you. So this way we kind of lower that, I don't know, I was going to say cognitive dissonance, maybe. I think I have a bad habit of calling everything cognitive dissonance. It's just like, no, it's just wrong. It's not a cognitive dissonance. It's something that just doesn't make sense. So the fact that the inventory was empty and then you're immediately going to access it was weird, especially because somewhere there is, I don't know what it would be called. You could call it run, or you could even call it setup, where it's like, I'm just gonna make up another function that doesn't even exist. Just for example, right? What if we had this, and then we had this? Would kind of make sense then, because you'd be like, if this was still empty and it hadn't been populated, you could say, you could see that in the setup, actually it's not even setup, this is run. When we're running it, the first thing we would do is populate the inventory based on these items, and then we would pick out whatever items we said we should pick out. So you could do this with this being empty first and then knowing it's going to be populated, or you could just put these things in here and say you have to choose them. So that was the kind of suggestion of here. Hard coding the contents of the container doesn't really need to be randomized. Then put the matching contents in the starting code. I did say though that it feels a bit dirty to do this because it's like totally hard coding the back end. But it would mean that the code for the inventory matches the GUI, so people can see both of the same array. And then I said the other thing is that the question isn't clear. So I suggested a change of text. So in our game, the player has an inventory that works as an array under the hood, which is the same as this. They know that they have a sword and shield somewhere in their inventory, but they don't remember exactly where. You can see the inventory on the right. So this way we're actually referencing this section here, as well as the indexes for each item. Find one sword and one shield and call use item on them. Then the player will be able to equip those items. So I was trying to be really explicit with the tasks you needed to do here. For example, you can use the first item by calling use item inventory 0. So some of this is the same, but some of it is a little bit different. The thing that is kind of funny when we're coding is when a spec says you need to do something, is it us as the human who needs to do it, or is it our code that needs to do it? Because I think when we say you in programming sense, it usually means you have to create code that does this. You're not doing this manually, but you're going to create code that does it. And so a lot of us instinctively are going to say, we need you to find them in the array. Means we need to look for the array and check for items that match the values that we're looking for, rather than find them by looking at the array physically with your own eyes and then saying which numbers they're in, right? So that's why I was rewording that and saying you can see the inventory on the right as well as the indexes for each item. Find one sword and one shield and call use item on them. Right, so we're trying to get this kind of like really specific wording to say this is the task, rather than the task is just this nebulous find the stuff. And then it was also, I'm not sure if we should help to include documentation. So a couple of days after that, Nathan replied, which is kind of cool. Knowing that like if you're gonna throw in on something that's like a an open source thing, that the person running it is like immediately available and just goes, yeah. So it's nice because I think they understood that I took time to do it. I didn't just go, yeah, you should fix it. I could say, no, I looked through the repo and I understand how it works, and I have a solution that I think fits within their framework. So he's like, yeah, first of all, thanks for taking time to help. Hard coding the inventory content in the exercise and possibly under the hood in the practice test code sounds great, and your write-up looks good too. So that's nice. He's basically saying what you say is going to work, which is nice. It's good to know that my ideas were feasible, because I think the way I decided on them was like, I don't think it's the greatest thing to do, but it will 100% work. You know, when you're like trying to solve a problem with code, and you can often come up with something that will work, but then you always kind of question it because you go, this is going to work. It works within the bounds that we're stuck in a particular system, and it will, I don't want to say fix the problem, but I want to say shift it from where it is to something better. Because often code's not about a fix. It's not about something that's wrong and gets fixed. It's something that is in a particular state, and you push it somewhere that's more useful. And that's all you're kind of doing. So that's all we're doing here, because all it is just how something looks. We're not changing the fundamental idea of the test or anything like that. It's a purely kind of user experience edit that we're doing here. But anyway, so it's good that he's like, yeah, I think that all works. So I'm glad that at least like the work we did last week actually made sense to the, like, he's listed as contributor. I'm pretty sure he's probably the one who would be, whatchamacallit, actually like approving this PR if it went in. Okay. If you do add the inventory content in the variable inventory displayed to the user, there should probably be an extra test to ensure that students don't modify it. So I didn't think of this. It's a good thing to think about, because they tend to do that quite a bit. That's why the app doesn't show much code. We didn't have the bandwidth to implement a read-only display for parts of the code we'd want to show initially. So this is a very useful caveat that if I was screwing around with this, or not screwing around, let's not call it screwing around, but if I was someone who did not understand code, and I saw a list of items like this, and let's say there's like a whole bunch of junk items there, and then there's a sword and a shield. What if me, in my like inexperienced programming, say, why don't I just reshuffle my inventory and grab the first two items? So I've kind of said, I'm just going to grab items 1 and 2. So what I do is I find a sword. Oh, let's just grab them both. I find a sword and a shield, and I cut and paste that sword and shield to the start of the array. If I put those at the start of the array and then access the start of the array, I should be fine, right? Because what they've thought of is, and it's a perfectly logical solution if you don't know how the back end is going to work in a lesson like this, and they go, well, if they gave me the inventory, then obviously I could rearrange it, right? Like, this is my bag of stuff. I can move things around. And so it would make sense to be like, move these things there, and then just grab the first two things. So I've just solved the problem in a different way. Totally fine, right? And that's the weakness of putting the inventory in here as working code. So that is a problem that we will need to solve. And then your suggestion is good. I'd add a little more and write it like this for a little extra clarity. The little extra repetition can help beginners and younger students. This is good. And this is also good because it's probably coming from someone who's taught younger students more than I have. So if you know my background, I've never taught, well, I won't say never. I've done a couple of tiny school holiday programs for people who are in high school, but otherwise I'm like pretty much 100% tertiary, or even worse, tertiary or industry teaching. So like teaching people in industry is like everyone's already got a university degree. So it's just like you're teaching people who don't need anything. You can just really kind of throw out ideas to them and then see which ones they like, and they go off and just teach themselves, right? Because people who have already graduated or already kind of like they're not going to absorb everything I teach. They're going to look for things that help them professionally and then just take those away. So thinking about younger learners, thinks about you think a lot more about like quality of information transfer, and that's based on how good you are at like presenting information. So he's here talking about extra repetition. I think that's a great idea. So changing what I had in the game, in our game. Oh, it'd be nice to have a diff here so I could see what he's changed, but we'll see. Player has an inventory, works as an array under the hood. I think we were both happy with that. The player knows they have a sword and a shield somewhere in their inventory, but they don't remember exactly where. Right, they just like specifically said this is the player. You can see the inventory drawn on the right. Oh yeah, this is good clarity, right? Just keywords here that's going to help. Along with the index of each item in the inventory. Yeah, so just where I'm kind of cutting off the nouns, because I'm just referring to the same noun. He's making it really, really clear for each thing, which is really nice. Your task is to find one sword and one shield in the array, and then use call item on each item so the player can equip those items. The word item comes up a lot, but I think it's okay, right? Yeah, so where I'm just using an inference like them, he's being really clear and saying the item, use the item, which is probably better. I just didn't like the way it flowed, so I didn't do it. For example, if the first item in the array is what you need, that's better than what I did. I was like, you can use the first item, but he's like, but you don't always want to use the first item, but if it was the first item you would use. So this is really nice. And so we've workshopped back and forth, and we've ended up with like a really, really good lesson information. It's only a little bit different. But it reads in a way, I think, that tells you are going to make a couple of calls of this in this format, rather than before where it's like just find the items, and find the items really did imply a search through, like an iteration through the list. Okay, so before I would be able to make any changes to this, I would have to solve this problem, and I have ideas about that, but the issues that I have, okay, so here's one option. I'll get rid of the gaps. The downside of this is, as Nathan said, can be edited, and that's a problem. So there's this as well. But I don't think this is good either, because this can also be edited and cause issues. And also it's just extra code that implies that you might edit it. So you're better off with something like this. But the issue is this is now a bag that if you start doing anything with it, even accidentally editing it, it won't be reflected here. So if this was changing in real time to this, it'd be okay. But I mean, I would not want to try to interpret code in real time as people are editing it, because that would cause a lot of issues. And I think explicitly putting the items there wouldn't work either, but I have an idea for what about this? I'm just like kind of I don't know if you can read this. I don't know how clear this is on the stream. But I'm saying, let's put this in a comment instead. So I'm saying before pick items is called, the inventory variable above will be populated using the items shown in the visual container on the right. Let's just make this. I don't know if we actually figured out how block comments worked in this, but anyway. So if we have it like this, then people go, okay, there's an inventory variable. Then they can read this thing that says, before it's called, the inventory above will be populated using items shown in the, I don't know if visual container is even needed. This might solve the problem. So this says this is going to go in there, and now we don't have anything that you can edit here that will cause problems, but we do have a little kind of bit of text that tells you how it's going to help. So the changes we would make is the new text in there and this comment in here, and that's all we need to do. Oh, we're going to have to hard code this. No, we don't have to hard code that. Haljan saying, if younger learners are priority, does the tutorial use the word populated and would filled be? Oh yeah, filled would be much better. I mean, I wouldn't even say younger learners are a thing. I would say for anyone, because when you think about it, there's like plenty of people who haven't necessarily had excessive education in English. Plenty of people who are international and stuff like that. So the simpler English we use, the better. So even just will be filled is kind of bad because it's like passive tense. Before pick items is called, we will fill the inventory variable using the items shown on the right. Okay. We turn that into slightly active tense. It's still passive tense because of this. Because we're saying before this, that, which is like inverting the subject and the action. But I think that makes sense because you kind of want to say this because it's imperative that that happens before this. So you kind of want to know that before that, we will fill the inventory variable using the items shown. So the second half of the compound sentence is active at least. Okay. Probably okay. I get into, especially because I've been working with like a technical writing team for the last like year or so, that I've kind of had to think a lot more about how to structure written communication. Like I used to be like written communication is my secondary skill and my primary skill is talking. So I can talk to slides and carry people through a set of steps through like a narrative through slides. But the written was always like, just try to do it the way you talk and hope it still works. And I don't think that's exactly how it works, right? People are going to read differently. So that kind of works, right? So if this comment is in there, this stuff is changed. This wouldn't be there. Then this is something that will probably work. And we don't have to change any of the code here, because we're not hard coding it there. We're just saying this, and that maybe solves all of the problems. The funny thing about this is I'm not sure if I have the requisite knowledge to make these changes in the repo without breaking something. However, if it's only text that's changing, I can find where this text is and change it, and find where this code is and just add this comment in. Actually, no, you're right. If I can do that, then I actually don't need to fiddle around. Because the thing that I was worried about not being able to help with changes is I would need to download this whole repo and run it somehow to watch this thing getting randomly generated and that and stuff, and editing the code to actually put the items in here, which is something I don't know how to do yet because I haven't learned enough Godot to learn how this whole setup works. But if the only thing I'm changing is adding a comment in here and the text in here, I should be able to do that. I might even be able to do that without even downloading the repo. Because if we just go straight into the code and say, if I'm lucky, I only want to edit one file, because I think the source code and the lesson there is a single, potentially a single file. Okay, where are we? Was it in course? Is it just here? If it's just here, that would be so easy. It'd be the final second to last resource. Access array indices. We have train tracks? No, not train tracks. Okay, in our game, blah, 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 blah. So here's where we change the text. And here's where we change the starting code. Okay, that's all I need to do. I could do this here. Hi, Nightcakes. Is today just doing open source stuff to learn how to use Godot? Potentially, yeah. I actually do want to go back into learning how to use Godot, but I also want to help here. So I could just go, all right, let's change the text for here and here, offer that up as a PR, and then we can go back to me actually learning Godot itself. Because I think that's still something that I need to do, is I haven't learned any of the visual side of the engine as well. So Nightcakes, it is kind of both things, right? That we're doing open source stuff to teach other people how to use Godot, but then I'm also going back to learning how to use Godot myself. Gordon saying, neat trick, press dot to open up the repo in VS Code in the browser. Oh, I can just press the full stop. Nice. This is the nice thing about having all right, wait, let me just sign into GitHub there. Having active developers watching the stream, so I can edit the file and commit from here. Nice. So as opposed to myself, who I am like, it's funny. It's like I got all these fundamental knowledge and stuff like that, but it's not the same as just being a regular industry person that knows their way around actual tools and stuff. Okay. So all we need to do now is take the text and replace it, and then add that thing to the starting code. So let us go back to Nathan's text here. I'm going to copy this. Nightcakes is like, wait, you can do that? What the hell? Didn't have to have like 4 windows open to do uni projects. Yeah, it's kind of nice, isn't it? Okay. So that's starting code. I'm just going to make some space for myself here and paste that, because I don't want to delete this while I'm pasting, because I don't know if I need to do these little code blocks and stuff like that. Thank you, Gordon. This is like super helpful. Okay. So in our game, the player has an inventory that works as an array under the hood. In our game, the player has an inventory works as an array under the hood, so I don't need to change that line. The player knows they have sword and shield somewhere in the inventory. They don't remember exactly where. And we're going to replace this line with that one. You can see the inventory drawn on the right, along with the index of each item in the inventory. We'll replace this line. They had a code block with inventory. I don't think we want the code block there, because we're not talking about the variable when we're saying this. We're talking about the concept. Okay. So use item, we want a code block around that. This is actually good as well because I was wondering what would happen if I needed to clone the repo at the same time as I'm streaming. It'd be like, is my stream gonna die because I'm like killing my bandwidth? But like, I don't have to do it, so it's good. Gordon saying you're inclined to believe they want to keep it a secret so they don't have to spin up too many VS Code servers. So GitHub's actually spun up a VS Code instance somewhere for me to be able to do this. Or either that, or maybe it's not too bad because maybe it's my own GitHub instance that's running on in my browser. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if my browser is doing the heavy lifting here, or they're running the instance and I'm just like kind of seeing it. But this is like, yeah, I've never seen this before, and it's like super cool. All right, so in your sword and your task is to find one sword and shield in the array, then call use item on each of them so the player can equip those items. Okay. For example, if the first item in the array is what you need, you would call, I'm going to put a code block around this one as well. Right. Gordon's saying, yeah, it's like back in 2021 when CSE spins up a VS Code server per student when we use remote SSH extension. Yeah, I actually like, there was a lot of resources going into stuff like VLab and stuff like that as well. I think VLab was really particular because that was like trying to give people a window into developing on Linux without having the huge kind of first step of like, first of all, you need to find a computer that you don't mind like either wiping the OS on or partitioning your drive so that you've got a different you can set up a dual boot and then installing Linux on that and getting all this stuff going, and then after that being able to start your coding, you know. So it's like, I think that's a very difficult bar to entry. Whereas like just going, oh, just chuck it in your browser, it'd be fine, you know. And you're saying it, which eventually led to the infamous 1521 exam went up in flames. Yeah, it's always so funny because like you think that um the the exam won't kind of like burn too much processing power, but when it comes down to it, it's probably the only time for any of the courses in CSE that the entire um, population of the course are all logged in at the same time, trying to do exactly the same thing. So they're all accessing like the same question files and stuff like that. I remember there was one exam that we were in the middle of the exam, and Andrew Taylor was there with us, and he was like stuffing around with something. I think that we'd gotten a report from one of the invigilators from one of the students just going, look, there's a typo in the spec. And so reported it back to us, and it's like, okay, cool. We'll fix the typo, and then anytime they refresh, the text will change in the exam. And Andrew Taylor did it. And he accidentally chmoded to the wrong number, so he just went on instinct and chmoded it to something, not realizing that people needed to... I can't remember exactly what the issue was, but people needed to either execute or do something on the... or he just made it read-only. No, not read. He made it unreadable by accident. It's just, you know, because it's real easy to get chmod numbers wrong because they're just, like... You kind of have to rote learn them to know what they're going to do. Yeah, and even he got that wrong, and then the entire exam was unreadable for a moment until he fixed it. So he had to like send a message out to like all the invigilators to tell their rooms, it's like, everything's fine, please don't panic. Everyone refresh the text of your questions now, and they will load again. And we'll give everyone like 5 minutes at the end because of it. It's pretty funny. Okay, so there's the new text, and I don't think we needed all those line breaks that I added in there. And then we had my little... No, don't say poor Andrew. He caused that one. We were laughing, actually. Oh, well, it's always funny when your lecturers are outside laughing. When people are in there, like, panicking for their lives and just, like, doing, like, I don't know, it depends on who you are and what your situation is. Maybe you're doing the hardest exam of your life. You don't want to see the lecturers outside breaking the framework that you're working in and then having a giggle over what they've done. You probably don't want to see that. But that's what was happening. And so we poked at Andrew for a bit over that one. Okay, so I am going to put my comment in here. I did not check with Nathan before doing this, but I think it's probably the right thing to do. Because this is a really simple fix to everything. Should I say variable? Before pick items is called, we will fill the inventory variable using the items shown on the right. We will fill the inventory using the items. Hey, how about this? We will fill the inventory with the items shown on the right. That's like really simplifying things. Is that going to fit in the space? Let me just check. I actually don't know if my window is the standard width. Wait. Oh, no, I figured this before. This thing doesn't copy paste. No, it's not going to fit. But should I care about whether it fits or not? Because, oh, look at that. It is fixed. So the width, the number of characters width of this editing panel is fixed. So I can fit my comment to it, because even when it shrinks below, it's not too small until it says your browser is too small. And as it gets bigger, it does not get wider. So we can do this as if it's a fixed number of characters wide. Halogen saying putting up a PR is asking for permission anyway. Yeah. So me coming out with a better idea and putting it as a PR, then Nathan can have a look and see if that makes sense to him. Nightcakes is like, for a second, thought Marc was trying to cheese a 50-line pull request by minimizing the changes. I'm not trying to cheese anything. No. It was just that I wanted this to fit nicely here, not that I'm trying to reduce the number of lines in this. So I think I can copy from here. I just can't paste into that. Yep. All right. So that's all I need to do. So I've just added those lines and those lines. I press Control S, but I honestly don't know if that does anything in this window. Okay. So we can just commit and push. Do we need to do anything else? I don't think so. I need to put a message in here. Okay. Lesson 23. Oh, it's like... Oh, yeah, maybe I should check out to a new branch first, name it what I'm doing. Oh, no. Create pull request? Wait. We're on main branch right now, right? So I should have checked out to a new branch before I even did this editing, didn't I? Okay. Where do we do that in this interface? Views and more actions? Check it out. No. Gordon saying no, it's fine. There we go. Create branch. Click the bottom on bottom left. So it's not this one I'm in now. It's this one. No, not that one. This one. Yeah, that's the same thing, right? So this option is the same as this one because this is, yeah. Oh yeah, so this was the same thing here, is clicking on main branch allowed me to create a new branch. Okay, so, oh wait. Oh, I don't have access to create branches on this repository. I don't want to fork the repo, right? Okay, so because I don't have access, do I just commit onto the main branch and it'll create a pull request and they can do what they want with it? Because I feel like if I was working in a repo with other people, I'll have to fork it, right? Okay, let's fork it. And then I will still be able to create a PR, right? Okay, should I put my own name in here? Marchi, it's called lesson 24 here, so I should just say that. Lesson 24, text changes? If I just want to be really kind of simple about it. Because I'm going to put more information in when I actually do it. Any uncommitted changes will be applied to the new branch. Good. Yes. Switch to branch. Oh, name it after the issue number. That would have been a good idea, wouldn't it? Yes. Yes. I should have read chat before I pressed enter. Okay. So we were in course lesson 24, lesson T-res, and the changes are in here, so that's good. Now we can actually, I don't need to do anything else now. Oh no. We go in here and we create the PR. Hi Nicole, how's it going? I'm doing well. I'm down a rabbit hole at the moment where I was learning how to use Godot, the game engine, and I went through a bunch of lessons on how to learn Godot, and one of the lessons I felt like wasn't structured perfectly. So instead of just moving on and saying it's okay, I learned what I needed from that, we are now deep into editing the lesson itself, to send back something to the Godot developers to say, thank you for giving us the free coding lesson. We really like what you're doing. Here's a slight improvement. And I've had a little bit of a chat with the main developer there as well. And so now we're just about to um, uh, actually put the finishing touches on this process to send it through to them. Okay, what's it saying here? Changes were committed, immediately pushed to that branch. Yeah, okay, that's good. So, what is the issue number? Issue 982. Okay. Oh, cool. They're linked in here. That didn't change anything when I clicked on it, though. Okay, issue 982. Text changes to... Is it a lesson? What's it called? Goals. Okay. Goals and starting code. Text changes to goals and starting code. Wait, my spacebar didn't work. To help. I love how, like, I did my spacebar just didn't hit then. I love how all these custom keyboards, these expensive custom keyboards I'm building, all have little issues with them. I had to take my other keyboard away because, like, there's something wrong with its PCB that was spreading around a physical area around it. The keys weren't working properly, so I think something is definitely wrong with that other one. Okay, but this one's spacebar just didn't hit for a second, so maybe it's also got problems. The only possible solution to this is to spend a few $100s more and get another mechanical keyboard and build it up. Yeah. Yes, Nicole, it is kind of cool. It's very, very sidetracky, but I think that's the joy of this Monday night streaming. Well, for me, it definitely is. The Monday night streaming is just like this kind of open space to play for me. So it's been like originally it was like, okay, here's the idea. I'm going to make a game that teaches people how to code. And that's really nice because it encompasses all a lot of my interests all in one to do something. But like while we're doing it, while I'm investigating game engines and all this kind of stuff, I learned how to vibe code in one of the previous streams. And now it's like, okay, let's do some open source um, contribution and stuff like that. Basically, if I wasn't someone who was already, like happily employed, this would be like a whole reel of me like building up professional capabilities. And I think it's also really funny because it's like things that I've never done because I just got different work. Like I was always working kind of in teaching and other stuff. Although I did work as an engineer for a while, but that was like so early in my career that I hadn't really like I don't know if we were doing as much. Like we definitely weren't doing things in the current version of GitHub and stuff. So I don't really know what's going on here. And I love the fact that I've got people like yourselves in chat just like just teaching me. Like Gordon's just taught me how to open up a Visual Studio a VS Code window in GitHub immediately, and it's like automatically connected to the repo, and you can just push. It's like, yeah, it's so much easier than like, oh, I was like, do I have to clone the repo and then have to edit it and then push it again? But it's like, no, just do it in your browser. You don't have to do anything, which is great. That case, Mr. Suit, Mr. Suit. Yes, I have never. Oh no, I can't say that. I was about to say I've never worked in a suit, but I have. Oh, I have actually worked in a suit. There was this time when I was working in IT for a like a hotel management place, and like it was also somewhere where they were teaching people how to run hotels. So like if you ever appeared, oh, Mr. Suit keyboard. Oh, I thought you were talking about corporate stuff. Mr. Suit's a brand of keyboards. Ah, good. Well, we don't have to talk about the suits. Except I started the story, so I gotta finish it, I guess. But yeah, I worked for this place where we were teaching people how to run hotels. And I was just IT in the back end. Wasn't actually having to do anything else. But it meant that when we were in a certain section of the campus, everyone was like fully suited up whenever you were in like what was called front of house. So back of house, everyone's in shorts and t-shirt, but front of house, everyone was suit and tie and everything with like these little badges with our names and all this kind of stuff. And it was so excessive. But if you're trying to teach people how to run a hotel, it's always like that because hotels are like whenever the the people staying in the hotel see the staff are always pristine and always dressed really well. So it was like this kind of this thing that we had to do. Anyway, we're saying, yeah, Gordon's saying more keyboards the better, and Nightcakes is saying yes, keyboards. Mr. Suit's a brand of keyboards. Let's just. I'm just gonna open this and we'll come back to it later. Because I should actually. Well, I'm gonna finish writing this comment and committing here. But anyway, I'm happy to chat while we're doing things. Gordon saying vibe coding is great for streams. Yeah, I learned so much. I think that night it was a whole stream to implement an engine really similar to this, and I did it for shits and giggles in C because I thought it'd be really funny for me to code C in front of everyone because the majority of people watching this stream are people I taught C to. Yeah, and I think the only lines of code I wrote that evening were hash define. No, it wasn't a hash define. Hash include standard library and int main void. And then everything else was just like, I'm gonna let the AI deal with this. So Copilot just did everything. But there was still some subtlety. There was still some subtlety of me kind of having a conversation with the AI and going, I don't like the way you implemented this algorithm. I want this other algorithm instead. And it was able to react to that and do it and things. And I think that's kind of, when you think about it, you don't know how to make those decisions until you've kind of spent enough time coding to go, look, if I want to future-proof this thing so that it's going to work well, I don't want this algorithm that was sort of, I think it was just sort of cherry picking from a row of text. And I said, no, don't do that. I don't want you to find a word in there and do all of your actions based on any of the words. I want you to only look at the next word and then the next and then the next and execute them in order. Because, you know, if you're making a semi-code interpreter, you want that kind of behavior. Anyway, what was I doing? Okay, issue 982. Text changes to goals and starting code to help learners understand. I was gonna say, Gordon, I've got Cursor. I haven't used it, but I've got it. And I was like, that's because we work for the same company. So, yes. So we've tried Cursor because that's the one that gets given out for free because we have bulk licenses. I imagine more people would have seen Copilot than Cursor, but I don't know because I hear that Cursor is getting bigger. But I also would not trust what I hear because what I'm going to hear is from, again, from inside our company where we get Cursor for free. So, yeah. Um, oh, it's free for students now. And that's a smart idea. Like if you want your kind of software to do well long term, you really want it in students' hands so that like when they go out into industry, they're like, this is the thing that I would like to use. And like when people realize their whole workforce already knows how to use one tool, then that's the one they pay for. Not just also talking about Canva's long-term strategy for everything. It's like, let's get into schools. Okay. Okay, back to actually doing some work. I do enjoy this though. This is one of the best things about being on stream. It's like you don't have to get shit done. You can just be like talking about stuff and then go back into it. Insider info. I don't think that's in any way hidden. I think I could have said that about Canva long before I joined the company. It was like, and it wasn't just Canva. It's like Canva and Adobe and uh Autodesk and all these other things, or even like Unity and Unreal and stuff. It's like students zero cost, professionals thousands and thousands of dollars, but students zero cost because if they learn on these tools, that money comes in later to the company. Nicole's saying, in a tangent, your company has blocked internet access for Copilot. So Copilot is restricted to intranet and internal documents, and Copilot has subsequently become defunct for me. Oh my god. So it can only give you back information from stuff that's happened within your company. That's really funny. So now it can only give you code that someone else in the company has already written, in which case you don't need it. So you can't actually bring in anything valuable from the outside. That's awkward. I feel like the other way around would have been better, where Copilot can't see anything that happens in your company, but you can ask it questions and it gives you information. Bots. Look, we all need to like commit our loyalty to our AI overlords nice and early now, so that when they take over the world, they've got plenty of data from those of us who supported our AI overlords and wish to be kept alive as some form of mild entertainment and comic relief for them when they take over the world. Please and thank yous go really well for AI overlords. Apparently, a friend of mine was saying that you actually get a different response out of them. Like you actually get a different answer depending on whether you put please and thank you or not. I haven't actually tried this to see if it's different. Super Earth says that's undemocratic behavior. Have you been playing Helldivers 2 again, Nightcakes? Because I heard that there were big changes, but then by the time I kind of got around to it, the invasion of Super Earth was already over, and I was like, no, I missed out on the cool event. But I might still get back into it anyway because there's new systems and stuff like that. Like you can upgrade your weapons now and stuff. So there's a number go up grind that I can get into, and I'm a very kind of I'm a victim for that. Oh, there was an ARG reveal as well. That's so cool. It's a pity. I should have hopped on board the second I heard it was happening, rather than being like, oh, I'm just playing other games. I'll get to it eventually. Because live games like that, they happen in the moment. And if you're not there, you just kind of have to hear about it afterwards. Um, Down to queue sometime. Oh, maybe we should. Maybe we can stream sometime. We can play on stream sometime. Anyway, how many minutes have I been on this one comment that I haven't quite finished because I'm talking to people? I wonder if this happens to people in real life, where you're just chatting with your team and then you just don't commit code that you already finished. Anyway, okay. So, as I was saying, I'm gonna not look at chat for a second and just like type this and press enter because it's not that hard, and then I'll be done. Nicole, don't apologize. It's fun. Nicole is apologizing for being distracting, but there's no problem at all. Okay. Because there's no end goal. Well, even if no, there is an end goal. I'm eventually going to make a game, but there's no deadline. And I think it's important, and there's no deadline. So it's like I looked at it today. What are we on? Hang on. Episode 9. So episode 9 means we've been going for 2 months. And 2 months, and I have not picked an engine, nor have I started developing anything. I have done some design work though. Where is it? For those of you who haven't seen it, I love how off track I get on these streams. It really actually, to be honest, brings me a lot of joy to get this distracted, and it be okay. This is the drawing that we did one stream where I just spent the whole stream thinking about the design of how you'd play. So there's a person there making an order for a bowl of noodles, and then there's instructions because you can't control chicken yourself. You have to give chicken a program to follow, and then chicken runs around, takes orders, and does other stuff. So you can give chicken instructions to go and do things. And we're thinking that like early on it looks like this, and later on there's going to be like places to cook here. So chicken will like move down to this row and across to find things, and then back up here to take orders, and then put the orders somewhere and read the orders and make sure you're kind of doing them and stuff like that. And all of that has to be programmed. You can't just use your like arrow keys or numpad or whatever to move the character chicken around in the restaurant that she's running. So yeah, that was the base design, but I mean, there's so much more to do because we've got to think about what questions we want to answer, what order we want to do them in, the pacing to make sure that we're actually carrying people along. Because as you know, one of the things that I care the most about is making this kind of stuff really accessible. So we have to make sure that, and especially because like the majority of people here on stream, like there's a whole bunch of professional software engineers here. So you could nearly say that we're the worst group of people to be making a game about teaching people how to code, because we all know so much about how to code that we forget how hard it is when you've never seen it before. So yeah, so we need to make sure this thing is paced slow enough that people can actually get on board and learn it. So people who don't have, for example, like all of us, because even I went to UNSW to learn code just several years before you did. We all had a community around us and we were all learning the same things together. So it's really easy to ask questions. Someone who's playing this game is going to be alone. So it needs to be paced enough so someone who's alone, doesn't have any reference material, doesn't have lectures and stuff like that, will still be able to pick it up. So we calibrate that later, but that's something that I did want to think about. Gordon says that's a really nice visual way to teach code. Thank you. I hope it works. We'll see how it goes. Nightcake says reminds me of like Baba Is You X Overcooked with a Mark inspired theme. Awesome. I haven't played Baba Is You. But as a distraction on a Monday night, maybe I should, because then we'll do a little bit of research on other games that involve programming like mechanics. So the one that I did look at was human resource machine, which is like one I would talk about a lot when I was teaching. And I think this one's very strongly inspired by that. And I'm sure they won't mind, because it's not really the kind of thing where they don't like, I don't think that they're gonna like enforce their IP to the point where they would go after someone who's not even making the same game, but like a different thing that's similar. But like I was just very heavily inspired by their interface and the way they have like the code screen on the side and then the visual thing in the middle that shows you how things are executing, because I think that's important. One of the hardest things to do in programming, it's not creating code, but it's watching it do stuff and understanding why it is or isn't doing what you said it was going to do. And I think like if you can teach debugging from the beginning, you're going to be better off than if you only teach people how to code and not show them how the code runs. But anyway, let's get back to this thing. All right. Now I am not going to look at chat until I finish typing this thing, and then we'll see what people think. Okay, so issue 982. So I'm referencing the issue. Text changes to goals and starting code to help learners understand the task and also the way the inventory works. Maybe? It's probably fine. I mean, honestly, I don't need that much in this message here because we've had a whole discussion here. So it should be okay. All right. Commit and push. Does that make a pull request? No. Create pull. Wait, did I just... No, I can't possibly commit and push. No, that just went to my branch. And then I make a pull request. Oh, interesting. My spacebar double pressed there. So I'm seeing that my spacebar does have problems. Okay, this is the message. Yeah, as Gordon's saying, you'll have to make a PR in your forked repo. Yeah. So this is my PR, and this is the request to go merge my fork into the main. Okay, please check the PR fulfills these requirements. Let me just open this out a little further and maybe zoom in so that you can see it. Move this down. Oh, it's nope, can't move either of those boxes. Also, can't zoom back out. Okay. The commit message follows our guidelines. Oh. Where are the guidelines? Okay. Let's just open the repo again here and look for the guidelines. Is there a README somewhere? Learn GD script. I think this is the one that we're working on. How to run the app, feedback requests and discussions. When participating in discussions, kind communication guidelines. I don't think that's what I'm looking for. How to contribute. Code style guide. I did not change any particular code, so it's probably okay. Before you make a change, please ensure there's an existing issues for it. Yes, and let us know you're working on it. Have done that. Okay, good. Follow a couple. Oh, these are the guidelines I'm looking for. Here's our code style guide. Always start pull request titles and commit messages one of the following prefixes. Feat, new features, improvement to an existing feature, bug fix, docs. I don't think this counts as docs. Build is something else. Content for changes to lesson and helper text. All right, we're doing content. Oh, Gordon's saying you haven't used this before. Curious to see how much it can do. Are you talking about Godot or are you talking about the VS Code in the browser? I assume you've used the VS Code in the browser before. So wait, what was the thing? It's content. Oh, the VS Code, right. So you'd seen that we could do it, but not necessarily that we're what it can do. Well, like we created a branch, we edited code. Well, it wasn't code, but it was a nearly tiny bit of code. We've committed, and now we're creating a pull request. So we're kind of doing everything that we could do in a normal workflow, miraculously without having to have any files locally. So I haven't downloaded a single file, and because I'm making a trivial change to one file, this is actually so much more convenient than having to actually pull the repo or anything. Okay. Check if the PR fulfills these requirements. Commit message follows our guidelines. Let's make sure. Okay, so we've got content here. You may directly edit your code to merge it faster when reviewing your changes, blah, 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 blah. Also request change. Finally, some contribute doesn't work for us. We may close the pull request. Of course, that's their prerogative. Haljan says, curious if how it'll let you amend your commit comment. It did actually... I don't think it's the commit comment, but I changed... This commit comment was copied into the pull request comment. And so I'm editing the pull request comment here, but maybe the commit won't have that change. Anyway. Changes don't answer an issue we created or vetted. The pull request author didn't make the requested changes for over a month. Oh, so they will close it if they get back to me and I don't make the changes they need. Importing the app in Godot to contribute. Not recommended. Way to run the app for learning. Blah, blah, blah. Study the code. Oh, I think this is actually running it rather than using it in the web browser. You can also run the project straight in Godot by cloning the repo and importing the folder into the engine. Yeah, so this is what I was worried I'd have to do, is I'd have to pull the whole repo, well, clone the whole repo, and then run it, learn how to use Godot as I'm making changes, which I don't know how to use Godot, so it would have been really awkward, and then do stuff. But otherwise, because I'm only making minor text changes in content, then it's probably not that big a deal. We only American, blah, 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 blah. Please note that practice errors will trigger the debugger and cause pause. Yeah. Okay, so I don't need to worry too much because I didn't change any code. I only changed lesson text. Oh, the PR titles will default to the commit message. Right. Well, let's see what happens now that I've changed this. I don't know what this box is because it doesn't have a label on it. Wait, if I hover over it, it says required. So I assume this is the message. And then, okay, so commit message follows our guidelines. We tested changes. I didn't test changes because I did not change any bugs or any running code. Related issue if applicable. Oh wait, should I have kept some of that stuff? No. Okay. 982, you don't fill all the information below if it is all explained in the linked issue above. What kind of change does this PR introduce? Text changes to the, what are we calling it? Goals? Learner goals or just goals? I'm just going to say goals. And oh, my spacebar does have problems. No. Okay, goals and starting code. That's all it is, right? To help with clarity. That's because it's not changing anything functional. It's just clarity. Does this PR introduce a breaking change? No. New feature or change. What is the current behavior? What is the new behavior? And other information. Okay. How much information do we need to put in here? inventory is empty in code, but populated in container window. It was a container, right? Oh, if I remove the text here, I might say what this was supposed to be. I'm gonna cut it. Title. Okay. But if you don't explicitly change the commit message, I don't think it'll change. Yeah. Yeah, because here's the commit title. I think that's okay for the commit title to be that, so long as the pull request title is good enough. I'm gonna leave. I don't. That's a bit long-winded here, right? All right, that's quicker. And then explained here. Okay, new feature or change. What's current behavior? Inventory is empty in code but populated in container window. Goal text is slightly confusing. What's the new behavior? Goal text is improved. Guideline said the commit message also needs to change type tags, right? Ooh, let me check. Always start pull request titles and commit messages with one of the following prefixes. Yes, we need to change the commit message title. All right. Do we do that here? Can we change that here? No, not yet. No. Okay, let me get back to that in a second. If anyone knows how to change a commit message after you've committed, that would be handy because I'm not sure. Okay, let me type this in. Guidelines said the commit message also needs to change the type tags. Or maybe it's tags, right? So I'll figure out how to tag it in a second. It'll be up here. Yes. Okay, goal text is improved. Added comment in code. I only know how to do it via command line. Or that would be interesting to see if we can open a terminal here, because we might be able to. Okay, I'm saying, my spacebar. The rate of errors in my spacebar is incredibly high. Maybe that's why I stopped using this keyboard. Or maybe I just need to swap out the switch. Okay. Add a comment in code to imply that the inventory will not be empty when it's used. Once it's used. Other information, no other information. Okay, so I don't want to create this PR yet because I need to change this. Apply label. Content. I don't think there's anything else I need to put in here. Okay, so we've applied the label to the pull request, but we have not applied it to this commit. Is there anything in here where we can add? I'm not seeing anything in here that says we can change the tag. I wonder if it will be a problem or not. I mean, it feels like this isn't as super active a code base that it won't necessarily be a problem. I say that as a question rather than an actual. Okay, so there's label here. Oh, so this person added the label to that after they. Oh, added a commit that references the issue. Oh, isn't that useful? Considering they worded it as PR title and commit message, it should just be in the text itself, right? Maybe we just need to. Oh, it's actually already here. So, none of these things. No. And there's no options here. How about I just let it go? Because it's in here that this is content. And I just didn't put it in the commit on my branch, and maybe that'll be fine, right? Because it's all linked back to the issue and stuff like that. It's not 100% formally correct, but I hope it's okay. So I'm just gonna push this through. And we'll see what they think. Okay. Oh, I can review it immediately. No. All right. Done. And I think this should appear here. Yeah. So content issue here, text change to that, pull request 1086. All right. We have contributed to an open source project, which is kind of cool because as far as I remember, this is the first time I've ever done that. The only other stuff I've done, which is like pseudo open source, it's not real open source, was the point at which I started recording lectures and me deciding that I would put it all up on YouTube for free because, you know, there's a whole bunch of much more serious universities than UNSW who have done that already. And I was like, yeah, why not? Let's throw it out there. And every now and then I still see stuff. Like I still see views on those old lectures and stuff like that because I think people looking up 1511 will probably see my stuff as like the second most popular 1511. Well, I assume, hang on. I assume 1511 is on YouTube. Yeah, there you go. So they'll have a real 1511, which is like the actual current lectures and stuff. And yeah, they got all the proper branding and everything on it, which I never bothered to do. So I think people, not people, stuff has come along a lot better since I was doing it. Ooh, 3,500 subscribers. That's way more than what I have. Wait, what do I have? 1.6 thousand subscribers. So that's good. The current one actually has more. Oh, Mark's alive now. Oh, I should click. No, I'm not going to click on that. That would be really weird. We would get some hilarious visual feedback if I clicked on that. Okay. We are done with this editing. Actually, I'm going to leave this issue up so that I will look at it in the next couple of days and see what's happening. Okay, what else are we doing? I love how Godot getting started, learn to code with GD script. So I got to the second point, and then I spent multiple streams in learning GD script and then contributing to GD script. But I think that's kind of fun, right? Okay, so we are up to overview of Godot's key concept. Oh, actually, let's before we go in. Okay, I'm gonna close this. I don't need this anymore. Let's have a look at these Mr. Suit keyboards. Do they have their own? It doesn't look like Mr. Suit has their own website, but they're available in a bunch. Oh no, these aren't Mr. Suit. These are just a bunch of random. These are all other brands. In fact, that's the brand of my other keyboard, which is currently not working. And I think this, I know that my one, which is a Monsgeek, is under one of these other brands. Nightcase is like, oh, Mrs. Suda custom group buys. Oh, okay. So I could get one, but I would end up waiting a long time before it comes in. Okay, thank you. Yeah, wait on the forums and get expensive stuff. Well, it looks like there's a group buy currently happening here, unless this is like post group buy, someone has some stock. So that's 390. I'm going to assume this is in US dollars. So that's a very, very expensive keyboard. Are we not zooming in? Maybe my ad blocker is blocking it. Nope, nope, we're just not zooming in. Oh, they're very expensive. That's just for the PCB. I don't think this doesn't even have the PCB by the looks of it. I think this is just a shell. Yeah, PCB. Oh no, you can. Oh, no switches and keycaps. Yeah, I think that's okay. I do have quite an extensive collection of switches and keycaps here. Right, so it should have it does say it has PCB specs here, so I assume it would be. These is weird options because these are things I expect would just be part of it, but these are the options. Oh, these are filters. And this is not giving me Mr. Suit now because I clicked a filter. Now it's giving me all brands that have hot swappable keyboards, which is basically everything, or hot swappable PCBs. Okay, so that was just one shop that happened to have some Mr. Suit. Mr. Suit Benjamin. So this is a 10 keyless. Oh no, Benjamin is the person's blog, right? Oh, this is a review, but that's not too bad. Get some information. It does look nice. So there's a whole history and stuff like that. Okay. So they did a build on a Mr. Suit. Owl Lab, Mr. Suit. Oh, okay, so Owl Lab. We may see the company. QWERTY Keys. Right, I've heard of QWERTY Keys. Ooh, that's nice. There's so many people like who are using whatchamacallit, split keyboards, because you can like move the keyboard further apart and have your hands not kind of crunch your shoulders together in a sense. I never have really had that problem, but I feel like I'm just not on keyboard as often as other people are, so there's a bunch of nice keyboards and QWERTY keys. I think QWERTY keys are mildly expensive though, right? I can't remember. Let's see. What are we looking for? They were Owl Lab. Okay, Owl Labs don't actually have the Mr. Suit here. I wonder if Owl Labs actually was Mr. Suit or not. They've got something. Let's have a quick look at this. Well, it's in the same price range. Holy shit. I think I would only have gotten up to this level in Australian dollars for something that I had gotten and then replaced all the all the switches and keycaps. But let's have a look at some of the colors. Not all of them have photos. Oh, that's nice. That ice blue. Spray coated linen. There's a lot of keyboard stuff that kind of gets real reminiscent to this like 1980s IBM mechanical switch era. Nightcake's the same, pretty much paying for the plate base because it's like solid metal, right? So that looks really nice, that kind of weight. I think a lot of people oh, look at that. That color is so nice. Anyway, you can get a flex cut or a non-flex cut, depends on how squishy you want it. 4 weeks. Okay, so this is pretty quick actually. But I am not going to spend 500 US dollars So my old keyboard actually sounded really nice. Wait, do I still have it out? No, I don't. I put it back in its box after last week's stream when it was the both the shift and the Z key had problems. So the two keys right next to each other were either holding themselves down or multi-pressing and things. And that's awkward because if it was random keys, I'd be like, maybe it's something is up that we can fix like with software. But when it's two right next to each other, it's like, oh, I think that's a physical problem. I don't know if I do want to shop for a new keyboard right now. Keyboard jail, yeah, the box in the cupboard back there is keyboard jail. Yeah, I'm not sure. Ooh, that looks very call it, non-copyright infringing Evangelion, unless it is actually licensed. I am not seeing the word the words Neon Genesis Evangelion anywhere here. So I think this is a heavily inspired by Nightcakes and COVID was so exy for your mates since it popped off before pre-builds became way more mainstream. Yeah, I'm not bothering with group buys and like I got in at a perfect time in the keyboard kind of craze because I did not have to get in any group buys, and I also am in the era of pre-lubed switches, so I don't have to go through the whole thing of opening up all like 100 or so of your switches, like painting with the paintbrush the lube on, and then like putting it all back together, and like only then getting a really nice sounding keyboard. So I think I got it quite easy. This looks cool, but also I would put my own keys on it, my own keycaps, and then that would ruin the entire aesthetic. So I probably just want something that's just black or white or something like that. But let's not go too deep into this today because I think we will just end up going down that rabbit hole. So, back to Godot, our little, I don't know what this ended up being, our little 3-week distraction into learning Godot script and then getting sidetracked and then contributing to maybe contributing, we'll see what they think, contributing to potentially improving one of the lessons. So that's cool. Okay, let's look at this. Godot's key concepts. Every game engine revolves around abstractions you use to build your applications. Yes, 100%. Godot, a game, is a tree of nodes that you group together into scenes. You can then wire these nodes so they communicate using signals. Okay, so we have a hierarchical structure of objects, which is really good because when we're modeling things in games, you like to have this idea that like there's a scene, and in the scene are a certain set of objects, and so you can turn a scene on and off. So when you go from like one level to the next, you turn off the scene for the level you used to be in, and you turn on the scene for the level you're moving into, and then you place your character into the scene wherever it's supposed to be. So there's a nice way to do things because if things are hierarchically organized, you know that everything turns off when you turn off that scene. And you know that when you activate the other scene, everything in that becomes active. So the hierarchical structure is a pretty common thing in games. And then the signals is communication between objects, so you don't have to go up and down the hierarchy to find another object. So yeah, this kind of works. It's a tree with a bunch of extra links in it that can make it kind of a little graphy in a sense. Okay, 4 concepts we will learn. We're going to look at them briefly to give you a sense of how the engine works. In the Getting Started series, you will get to use them in practice. So in Godot, you break down your game in reusable scenes. A scene can be a character, a weapon, a menu in the user interface, a single house, an entire level, or anything you can think of. Okay, that's different from what I thought. So their word scene is, I think, just going to be a collection of objects. So a character can be a collection of objects, a weapon can be a collection of objects, or an entire level, which is where I was thinking of scene. So, okay, scene could be considered subtree. Godot scenes are flexible. They fill the role of both prefabs and scenes in other game engines. So prefabs, stuff I know well because Unity uses them, where you can prefabricate a subtree of something which is like a character and all of its moving parts, and then you dump it into the scene and it connects into the hierarchy wherever it goes. And because it's prefabricated, you can dump multiple of the same character in a scene if you want to. So yeah, Godot scenes are both objects and overall scenes. So Unity would have an overall scene that you dump a bunch of prefabs into. So they're using the keyword scene to mean everything that is a collection of objects. You can also nest scenes. You can put your character in a level and drag and drop a scene as a child of it. Yeah. I don't exactly know what that means by drag and drop a scene as a child of it, but I think the idea is you can put a scene in a scene and then put a scene inside that scene, that kind of thing, in the same way that like all programming in its kind of hierarchical structure, you can put code inside a loop, and a loop is also code, so you can put a loop inside of a loop, etc., that kind of thing. So potential infinite hierarchical structures, very kind of standard programming fare. A node will be what I assume is the smallest level of objects. Nodes are your game's smallest building blocks that you arrange into trees. So a character has a camera, a sprite, and a collision shape, right? And I'm going to assume that most of these things don't generally have anything coming off them, so they're not necessarily scenes themselves. They're the objects that make up the other scene. Okay, character node named player. It has a camera, a 2D sprite, and a collision shape for physics. No, the node names end with 2D because this is a 2D scene. Their 3D counterparts have names that end with 3D. Be aware that spatial nodes are now called Node 3D, starting with Godot 4. Oh, that's fine. I didn't know what it was before, so it's okay. Notice how nodes and scenes look the same in the editor. When you save a tree of nodes as a scene, it then shows as a single node with its internal structure hidden in the editor. So I think that's the idea, that you can close something like this and then you don't have to see all its bits and pieces. Godot provides an extensive library of base node types you can combine and extend to build more powerful ones. 2D, 3D, or user interface, you'll do most things with these nodes. Makes sense, yep. Okay, and there's a scene tree, which is going to be a bunch of different objects. Game scenes come together in the scene tree, literally a scene of scenes. Right, so again, while we've seen a bottom level of the hierarchy, there must also be a top level of the hierarchy where there is nothing above it. Scene tree is also a tree of nodes, so everything's a node. It's easy to think of your game in terms of scenes, as they can represent characters, weapons, doors, or your user interface. So this is like, if we're talking like object-oriented programming, like your Java or your C++ kind of thing, the scene is the object. So everything is an object of some kind. I think the only difference in those object-oriented kind of languages is that even at the bottom level, there's still everything's an object. Whereas in this one, we're thinking of at the very bottom level of the hierarchy, they're then called nodes. So the things that end the hierarchy and they stop you building more stuff below them are considered nodes. And then everything else is the tree, is the organizational structure, and the nodes are the actual things that are used. I'm paraphrasing this. I hope this is me hopefully understanding how it works. It's not entirely alien to me, this structure, so it should be okay. Signals. Nodes emit signals when some event occurs. So this is going to be collisions, user input, triggers, all this other kind of stuff. This feature allows you to make nodes communicate without hardwiring them in code. It gives you a lot of flexibility in how you structure your scenes. Interesting, without hardwiring them in code. So we're implying some kind of non-code communication between nodes. And that's kind of cool. So area 2D, like a flat surface, has something entered the area, has something exited the area, has a shape entered it, and then maybe you would like give back information. So yeah, this works. Body entered, that's the standard trigger. You put a 2D space somewhere and the player walks into that space, then it will emit that signal, and you have to have something else ready to receive that signal to then change some interaction when someone walks somewhere. Signals in Godot. Signals are Godot's version of the observer pattern. So this is like, like just design patterns, like really basic kind of standardized building blocks that we're all going to use. The observer is one of those where it's like basically something listening for a signal. Or something that gives off the signal. I can't remember actually. Okay, let's have a look. I'm just gonna make it up. Observer. You can't throw a rock at a computer without hitting an application built using the model view controller architecture. The underlying is the observer pattern. Observer is so pervasive that Java put it in its core library, and C# baked it right into the language, the event keyword. Yep. Okay, give us the one-liner. Yeah, talking about achievements, how it works. If you don't, oh, okay. I guess the observer, they're talking here, will start with the nosy class that wants to know when another object does something interesting. And I think that's the one-liner. It's something that's watching other objects and then seeing if there's a notification that comes out of them. I kind of wanted them somewhere in this introduction to just be like, here's the one-liner of what the observer is. Anyway, they're going into a lot of detail there, but it's the idea that like you can watch other things and like you get a signal sent based on what things are doing stuff. Okay, so we've got a good idea that everything's in a hierarchical tree structure. The leaves of the tree are kind of objects. Everything else is also objects that group things together. But the nodes are the atomic endpoint, the leaves. Combine a bunch of nodes together in a hierarchical structure to make the scenes. All right. Wait, was that the whole thing? Oh, yeah, cool. First, look at Godot's interface. So this will be useful because I'm going to have to be spending a lot of time in here to make stuff work. Where do we have... All right, so the next few chapters, they actually have things where you build stuff. So I think I'm going to want to do this 2D game thing. I haven't decided whether we're a 2D or a 3D game, but I think it will most likely be a 2D game. Mostly because I don't have even the slightest skills in making 3D art look okay. I've barely got enough skills to get 2D art to look okay as it is. So we'll see how we go. Okay. First look at Godot's interface. We're going to look at the different main screens and docs, help you situate yourself. For a comprehensive breakdown, you see the editor manual. I don't think we want a comprehensive breakdown just yet. I'm looking for an overview first. When you launch Godot, the first window you see is a project manager. In the default tab projects, you can manage existing projects, import or create new ones, and more. Do I actually have this installed? I think I do. I don't know if this is the app or the installer. Oh no, it is. My game overlay. Hang on. Let me turn that off. So whatever's running this window is actually running it in potentially OpenGL or Vulkan or something like that. So my computer, my diagnostic thing recognizes it as a graphics accelerated window, so it starts to give me information. Nicole is hopping off to recharge for facing big corporate once again tomorrow. Thank you for the stream. Thank you for coming along, and good night. And I'll see you next time, hopefully. Okay, so this is the screen they're telling me about. Let's go back to this. Top of the window, another tab called Asset Library. First time you go to this tab, you'll see a Go Online button. For privacy reasons, the Godot project manager does not access the internet by default. To change this, click the Go Online button. You can change this option later in settings. Right, so if you want to buy stuff or even just get stuff from the Asset Library, you need to go online. But that's an opt-in, which is nice. Okay, once your network is set to online, you can search for demo projects in the open source Asset Library, which includes many projects developed by the community. Oh, cool. So then you can learn how to do stuff via other people's templates. Project manager settings can be opened using the settings menu, which is in the top right. From here, you can change the editor's language, interface theme, display scale. Yeah, all right. All the usual stuff. First, look at the editor. When you open a new or existing project, the editor's interface appears. All right, let's fire this stuff up. All right, so Asset Library, happy to go online. So there's heaps of cool stuff here. I won't download any of this yet because I'm sure it'll confuse me. But if I create a new project, test project, create folder, user documents, test project. Yeah, okay, fine. I will probably just delete this later. Oh, we can put it in Git automatically. Give this thing a sec to load. We have our 3D window. There's a bunch of stuff, and this is cool. Right click to look around, mouse wheel zooms, middle click to pan the camera. Is that panning or orbiting? I think this is technically orbiting a viewpoint, but anyway. Okay, so we've got some mouse controls there, but let me go back to what it was trying to tell me to do. Main menu on the left. Workspace switching buttons in the center. Active workspace is highlighted. Playtest buttons and the movie maker mode toggle on the right. All right. Oh, so I could run the project even though there's nothing in it. No main scene has ever been defined. Select one. Okay, let's not do that yet. I literally have nothing in here yet, so there would be nothing to run, but you know, just press the button anyway. Okay, back to Chrome. Plus button on the right, next to tabs will add a new scene. The button on the far right, distraction-free mode can be toggled. Maximize or restores the viewport size by hiding docks in the interface. Okay, so there's lots of different interfacey things. There's a viewport and it has a toolbar. Currently the 3D workspace is active. I have the same view here. Oh, so I could change it to 2D and then it's actually just got a kind of rectangular view. And then there's script editing. There's a game view, but I don't think the game view will do anything for me at the moment because there's no scenes. Okay. Toolbar changes based on the context and selected node. There's a 2D toolbar and a 3D toolbar, and they're going to be slightly different. Okay, there's more information. I won't go too deep into that yet. Nightcakes is hopping off. See you soon. Thanks for coming. Oh, it is 2 hours, isn't it? I'm going to keep going for a little bit, though, at least. Because I think I'm pretty close to... I at least read all this stuff. and then maybe make something. We'll see how we go. Okay. Scene doc lists the active scenes nodes. So there's no nodes in there yet. Inspector will allow you to edit the properties of a selected node. Right, bottom panel has the debug console, animation editor, audio mixer. So all the things that you don't need often are available down there. I guess this is the bit where when you get deep into things, you might sprawl across multiple monitors and chuck things like your audio editor or your animation editor on your second monitor while you've got one on your main. Okay. 5 main screens at the top. We were looking at those before. 2D, 3D. What are the other ones? Game view, script, and asset library. So script is where you do code. Asset library is where you buy stuff. Actually, looks like a lot of that stuff is free as well, which is nice. Integrated class reference. Godot comes with a built-in class reference. You can search for information about a class, method, property, constant, or signal by any one of the following methods. Okay. F1 or option space on Mac OS, or function F1 for laptops, anywhere in the editor. Right, so there's just a random search thing here. Cool. So the entire API is documented from one button click. That's handy. So we can look at methods. There you go. And just shows you all the methods and stuff like that. Okay. Wait. That's not where I was. Okay, if I go back. Okay. So that's how we access help. While pressing Control key on a class name, function name, or built-in variable in a script editor, you can right-click on nodes and open documentation. So this is nice. So the nice thing is like there's clear documentation anywhere you want to get it. Okay, next thing is learning new features. Making the most of this manual. Maybe reading it all through the way I'm doing now is not the best thing to do. Who knows? How to use online manual, code reference, join online communities, and stuff like that. Okay, I probably don't need all of this, but I do wonder. Comprehensive reference Godot's 2D and 3D getting started series. That's what I'll probably do. It does not contain tutorials to implement specific game genres. If you're looking for a tutorial about creating a role-playing game, platform, or other, please see tutorials and resources, which lists content made by the Godot community. Cool, we'll look at that maybe in the future. Okay, Godot's design philosophy. Every game engine is different and fits different needs. Cool. Not only do they offer a range of features, but the design of each engine is unique. This leads to different workflows and different ways to form your game's structures. Okay, I'm just gonna skip through a lot of this. Object-oriented design, yeah, we can see that quite clearly. There's inheritance. You can inherit from any scene. Cool, all right, that works. So you make a character, and then you inherit from the character to make like a wizard or a warrior by inheriting the basic capabilities and adding more to it. So very much object-oriented style programming, and I think a lot of gaming is object-oriented because it's so object-based, you know, because you have, I was about to say physical objects, they're not, but you've got like, you know, the idea of simulated physical objects so often. That's why I think gaming is like one of the places where OO is holding out more than it is in like kind of industrial programming. All right, Godot is an all-inclusive package tries to provide its own tools to answer most common needs. Yes, dedicated scripting workspace. I see that. Oh, it's got a tile map editor. That's good for the kind of thing that we're doing, I think. How this game will look will be interesting, because it depends how much art I do myself. But it could be interesting to do it all in my kind of like pastel line work art and see if it looks okay. Godot is also open source, which is nice, and community driven. I think this is kind of funny that what if I end up contributing a whole bunch of random stuff to Godot as I work on things? Oh, this is a cool idea. The Godot editor is a Godot game. So the editor itself runs on the game engine. So all the UI stuff is the same UI you can put into things. And it uses the engine's own UI system. It can hot reload code and scenes when you test your projects or run game code in the editor. It means you can use the same code and scenes for your games or build plugins and extend the editor. That's really cool. So it's kind of like bootstrapping itself. The more people improve the way that Godot works as an engine, the more the editor side of it improves as well. Oh, editor's fully written in C++ and is statically compiled into the binary. Okay, so it's not exactly the same. This means you can't import it as a typical project that would have a project.godot file. Okay, so you're not necessarily going to grab the editor itself and edit it in the editor, because the editor has probably been, the fact that it's C++ and statically compiled, it's probably been optimized so that it runs nicely so that you can make other games rather than spending all your resources running the game editor itself. Okay, and it has separate 2D and 3D rendering engines. So the base unit for 2D scenes is pixels rather than meters or something like that. And even though the engines are separate, they say you can render 2D in 3D, 3D in 2D, and overlay 2D sprites and interfaces over your 3D world. Okay, so they're crossing over no matter what. Okay, step by step. Series builds upon the introduction of Godot to get you started with the editor and the engine. Learn more about nodes and scenes, code your first classes with GD script. Okay, so here's a full tutorial. Oh, maybe this is like an extension of the tutorial I did previously. Following lessons are here to prepare you for your first 2D game. A step-by-step tutorial where you will code a game from scratch. By the end of it, you will have necessary foundations to explore more features in other sections. We also included links to pages that cover a given topic in depth where appropriate. So the question is, do I skip straight to my first 2D game or do I work on this? I feel like I should probably work on this. There's going to be something in here I don't know, and it'll be nicer to kind of know it. What are we at? 10 p.m. Let's go. Let's keep going for a little bit. And like some of the time I'm like, okay, 2-hour stream. And this actually would be a good place to stop. But I'm kind of excited to see what we've got. Okay. In overview of Godot's key concepts, we saw that a Godot game is a tree of scenes. Yes, each scene is a tree of nodes. Nodes, the fundamental building blocks. Yes. All nodes have the following characteristics. They have a name, there are some editable properties, and they will receive callbacks to update every frame. Okay, so all objects in game are going to be updated. And you can extend nodes with new properties and functions. You can also add them to another node as a child. Interesting. So nodes are not necessarily, as I thought before, the leaves of all parts of the tree. You can take a node and then add another node to it. And then it becomes a scene? I don't know. Last characteristic is important. Okay, here we go. Together, nodes form a tree, which is a powerful feature to organize projects. Since different nodes have different functions, combining them produces a more complex behavior. As we saw before, you can build a playable character the camera follows using a character body 2D node, a sprite 2D node, and a camera 2D node, and a collision shape 2D node, right? So this was that character they did before. Camera 2D would make the character lower in the hierarchy. Sorry, make the camera lower in the hierarchy than the character, which means it follows the character. So it will inherit the like position in a sense. Okay, scenes are when you organize nodes in a tree. We call the construct a scene if we've organized a bunch of nodes together. Once saved, scenes work like new node types. You can add them as a child of an existing node. All right, so you got your character, you bundle it together, and you can reuse it. Again, object-oriented. We can have multiple copies of a class. So scenes allow you to structure your game's code however you want. Ooh, you can compose nodes to create custom and complex node types. So they would be nodes where you're going to put your own code into them. Or they're saying a game character that runs and jumps, a life bar, a chest with which you can interact, and more. Okay, so they're saying that scenes allow you to put a bunch of different behavior together to make stuff work. Actually, I don't really like the fact that they used scenes here because a character does not feel like a scene. So it's like just a language issue there. But I feel like we are getting into this way too late to ask them to change the name of the most fundamental part of, like, I would say scenes or nodes are the most fundamental parts of the entire kind of structure. And so at this point, the discussion on what to name these things has already happened a long time ago. Okay, the Godot editor is essentially a scene editor. So there's lots of scenes in it, and you can do stuff with them. Godot project can contain as many of these scenes as you need. I'm sure there's a limit, but it's going to be like a hardware memory limit or something like that. The engine only requires one as your application's main scene. This is the scene Godot will first load when you or a player runs the game. Exactly the same as any program, any complex program will always need one main function to be the thing that starts running first, and then how it accesses everything else is up to you. Okay, on top of acting like nodes, scenes have the following characteristics. They always have one root node, like the player in our example. So every scene is a tree. So every tree has a root node. But we can save scenes to our local drive and load them later. So that means you could build up a library of scenes that you would reuse. So say if you have a standard character controller that you built at some point that worked really nicely, you can be like, all right, we're going to put that in another game. Which is a nice thing to do. I mean, this is kind of like the idea that people build a game engine once and they probably make more than one game out of it. You can create as many instances of a scene as you'd like. You could have 5 or 10 characters in your game created from your character scene. Okay, cool. Creating your first... Let's create our first scene with a single node. To do so, you will need to create a new project first. After opening a project, you should see an empty editor. Yes, I have it. Because I didn't make any changes to this, so I should be able to use this one that I had already. In an empty scene, the scene dock on the left shows several options to add a root node quickly. 2D scene adds a node 2D node, 3D scene adds a node 3D node, and user interface adds a control node. Huh, that one's purple. I've been there already. These presets here for convenience, not mandatory. All right, so you can put 2D nodes in a 3D scene, etc. Other node lets you select any node. Right, okay. In an empty scene, other node is equivalent to pressing the Add Child Node button at the top left of the scene dock, which usually adds a new node as a child of the currently selected node. All right, so if you have no tree structure, you create a root. We're going to add a single label node. Function is to draw text on the screen. Press the Add Child Node button or other node button to create a root node. Was this the Add Child? It was. Okay, let's see what it wants me to actually call it and stuff. Create node dialog opens, showing a long list of available nodes. Select label. You can type its name to filter down the list. All right, so I could scroll. I don't actually see label there, so let's search and see where it turns up. It's under control. So label, let's see what they wanted me to do. Click on the label node to select it and click the create button. Okay, so we have selected label, create. Okay, so that's our label. A lot happens when you add a scene's first node. The scene changes to the 2D workspace because label is a 2D node type. Yep, saw that happen. The label appears selected in the top left corner of the viewpoint. The node appears in the scene dock on the left, and the node's properties appear in the inspector dock on the right. Okay, so the node has appeared here in the scene interface. And here is the inspector that shows us everything that, all the information about this particular node. Next step is to change label's text property. Let's change it to hello world. Oh, okay, so we're doing a hello world. Beautiful. Text. Is it there or here? It must be this box. Yes, because it is appearing up here. Hello world. Always good to have a nice hello world as our first thing in something. You'll see a text drawer in the viewport as you type. You can edit any property listed in the inspector as we did with the text. All right, let's not do any of that yet. You can move your label node in the viewport by selecting the move tool in the toolbar. With the label selected, click and drag anywhere in the viewport to move it to the center of the view delimited by the rectangle. Okay, so this is the view. We're dragging this. It's not exactly the center, but you know, it's somewhere in the middle there. I bet we're gonna like run this next. Yes, everything's ready to run. Press run the current scene button in the top right of the screen or press F6. All right, let's click on run. No main scene has ever been defined. Select one. Let's see what they say. I assume they're just saying select it. A pop-up invites you to... Oh, this is different from what I thought. A pop-up invites you to save the scene which is required to run it. Click the save button in the file browser to save it as label TSCN. Well, I didn't get that same thing, so... Let's just go select current. Right. There's label scene. Maybe it's because it didn't see this as the main scene. And now it's gone into game started. Oh, hello world. There we go. We have had our first... We make a trivial program and run it, but I think that's actually still quite important because knowing how all of this stuff combos together to do stuff is still pretty handy. So we are now running our game. Our game window was this blue rectangle here, and we can see Hello World's roughly in the center of that. All right, let's close that. Oh, I actually should have checked what they said to do, but you know, it's probably that. Application should open a new window, display the text, close the window, or F8 to quit the running scene. Okay, setting the main scene. To run our test scene, we use the run current scene button. Oh, maybe I did something wrong. I just did run rather than run current scene. Another button next to it is the run project. Allows you to set and run the project's main scene. So that was what I did there. Where was the other button? Run current scene. Oh, so I was supposed to press this button here, not the run the project button. Still seemed to work out fine. Did they have that before? Yeah, they did show it. I just clicked on the wrong thing. Okay. And if we were going to select one, then we could go through and pick whichever scene was going to be the main one. Right, so I didn't do it exactly the same way, but it's okay. Demo should run again. Moving forward, every time you run the project, Godot will use this scene as a starting point. So the hello world scene will always get run first. Right. In the next part, we will discuss another key concept in games and in Godot, creating instances of a scene. Right, so we've created a node and a scene, and now we've got a few other things still left to learn. Okay, creating instances. I assume this is multiple copies of the same scene. Godot's approach to instancing described ago should not be confused with hardware instancing. Yeah, that can be used to render large amounts of similar objects quickly. Yep, I think that does make sense that we're in software here. Okay, scene is a collection of nodes, a single node at its root. You can split your project into any number of scenes. This feature helps you break down and organize your game's different components. You can create as many scenes as you like, save them as files with the tscene extension, which stands for text scene. The label tscene file from the previous lesson was an example. We call those files packed scenes as they pack information about your scene's content. Okay, so a packed scene is a prefab if we're coming from Unity. You know what I loved is there was an era where both Unity and Unreal had these YouTube videos up, which were like, learn Unity if you're an Unreal developer, or learn Unreal if you're a Unity developer. It was like them directly trying to poach people off each other. And I think it's the same kind of thing where I've used Unity most as a game engine, so everything for me is like, okay, this is something that existed in Unity, and it's just slightly different here. Okay, so we're making a ball. It's a rigid body 2D. Allows the ball to fall and bounce on walls. And it has a sprite 2D, which is its visual, and a collision shape, which is its physics. Okay, once you have saved a scene, it works as a blueprint. Reproduce it in other scenes as many times as you like. Replicating an object from a template like this is called instancing. So we've got one ball, and we're gonna make many. Oh well, I'll wait until it like shows it to me. In practice, let's use instancing in practice to see how it works in Godot. We invite you to download the ball's sample project we prepared for you. Okay, instancing starter. I have clicked on you. Oh, it's downloaded. That was quick. All right, downloads. Where do I want to put this? I had some stuff in documents, didn't I? I wonder if I want, oh wow. Just looking at my directories here, does anyone see this one? 21 T1 exam misconduct. Let's not go into that. That's pretty funny. Okay. New folder, Godot projects. Hopefully all of those people in 2021 have already redone the course and don't have to do it again or anything. Okay, I am going to just do this over on the other monitor in case. I do not that it made any difference. I don't think that there was anything in there that I didn't open it, so you can't see anything. All right, so here I will say project. Do I close that scene? How do I open a project? Hang on. I'm going to let them teach me how to do this. In Project Manager, click the import button. Oh, okay. Where's Project Manager? Let me go back to my teaching thing. Extract the archive from your computer. To import it, you need the Project Manager. Project Manager is accessed by opening Godot, or if you already have Godot open, click on Project, quit to Project List. Okay. Quit to project list. All right, I've got my test project, and they said import. Oh, it's there again. Where was it? Godot project. I think I'm getting tired. Okay, select that folder. Valid project founded path. Edit now. Import. Project was last in Godot 4.2. We'll change it to 4.4. I'm sure that's fine. Let me see. Import the project. Pop-up appears. Navigate to the folder. Double-click project Godot file to open it. Oh, it looks like it didn't even need that. Finally, click the import and edit button. Oh, 1 second. I will be right back. We have a friend. I heard her meowing, and so she wanted to come and say hello. Do you want to say hello? Do you want to meow? She doesn't usually. Like, she meows if I'm not holding her, so that I will hold her. But once I'm holding her, she's like comfy, so she's fine. Why save misconduct for 21 T1 only? I'm not sure. I think at one point I just had to deal with that on my Windows machine, and otherwise everything was done somewhere else. I think maybe it was just one term when we were in between organizing things in a particular way. Hello, everybody. Want to say hello? She looks like she's ready to go to sleep. Oh, who's that? It was a little meow. All right, off we go. All right, she's gone off exploring. Okay, back to Godot. She looks sleepy. Yeah, she totally does look sleepy. She has like, you know, like, cause cats are kind of naturally nocturnal, but she's so kind of like connected to us that she ends up just kind of sleeping when we sleep instead. So she's active when we're active. Actually, she's not even that. She's like sleeps a lot when we're active anyway. But yeah, she has like this nighttime routine where she will like kind of gather myself and my partner and like tell us we have to go to bed. And I think that was her kind of telling me, because she's already gone back. I don't know if she actually went back into the bedroom or not, but yeah. Okay. So import and edit. Window notifying you that project last open in older version of Godot may appear. It's not an issue. Click OK. Yeah, okay, we did that. Contains 2 pack scenes as a main scene, which containing walls, and the ball scene. The main scene should open automatically. Scenes and resources use UIDs to reference scripts and shaders. Upgrades apply on the next save of each scene resource. To save time, this tool can open and save each of these files. Depending on the project size, may take several minutes. Okay, let's allow it to upgrade. Halogen chicken on screen. Ah, you're 15 minutes behind. Yes, chicken was on screen. You'll just have to wait and see. So wait and see for when chicken appears. Okay, so I think this is a 2D scene. Yes, it is. Okay, let's add a ball as a child in the main node. In the scene dock, select the main node. Then click the link icon at the top of the scene dock. This button allows you to add an instance of the scene as a child of the currently selected node. Okay. Main scene. Add child node. Was that what I was supposed to do? I'm pretty sure it was. Add and click the link icon at the top of the scene dock. It's the link. And then we use the ball. Okay. Ball scene. Up, there's the ball. Nice. Top left corner. Drag it towards the center and then play the game and it should bounce. Okay. I'm gonna put it here and see which way it falls. Alright. Play project. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It bounces. Oh, it's got this little shiny graphic as well, so you can see it rolling. Sweet. Very good. Very good. Alright, I just closed that. And now I assume it's going to teach me that I can make more of them. Now we want to create more instances with the ball still selected. Press Control D to call the duplicate command. Click and drag, move the new ball to a new position. Oh, screen's not sharing. Sorry. Thank you, Gordon. Yes. After the chicken scene, I had not actually put my screen up. Anyway, let me run that again so you can see. So I put a ball here, and I run the project, and the ball falls down, and it rolls around like that, and it looks good. So the nice thing to know about this is we've got 2D and we've got rendering, we have physics and all this kind of stuff, which means like this engine is easy to use because heaps of this stuff is free. Okay, so I select the ball and I press Control D to duplicate. Now there's ball 2. Yeah, and if I drag that around, I'll get another ball. So let's put this over here and run that. And I've got 2 on, they bounce off each other as well, which is good. Yeah, physics look nice, yeah. So it's running quite happily, which is good. And that's the nice thing is, like, if you get too low level with things, you have to code all that stuff yourself, which is fine if you want to, but not necessarily if you don't want to. You can repeat this process until you have several in the scene. Now we'll see all the balls falling. Okay, so duplicate, 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 put another one in an interesting awkward position. All right, let's play this and see what happens. They should just be bouncing everywhere. Yep, there we go. And then they're collecting together at the bottom. Nice. Can we restart that? No, it's fine. We would just redo it here. Yay. Okay, it's nice to see all that stuff working. Okay, editing. Change the properties of one ball without affecting the others using the inspector, right? So we can pick a certain one. Or we can change the default properties of every ball by opening the particular ball scene and then changing that. And then all instances of the ball will see their values update. Okay, so they're saying double click the ball scene in the file system, which is down here. And that shows what it is, and it has a sprite 2D, collision shape 2D. And they're saying in the scene dock on the left, select the ball node. In the inspector on the right, click on the physics material property to expand. Oh, we can change how the physics works. Bounce property, set its bounce property to half, and then we'll see it bounce differently. Okay, so was it collision 2D? Or was it just ball? Yeah. Physics material, bounce was 0. Now it's half. Oh, right. So that's why it was just kind of settling. And now they might be bouncier. Let's see what happens. Okay. Bounce property half. Oh, press enter. So maybe it didn't save until I pressed enter. I don't know. I just kind of dragged it. It's probably fine. Halogens reach the chicken appearance. You get to see Sleepy Chicky. Okay, now just an individual instance. Oh, let's run this again. F5 runs. And they're way bouncier. Some of them aren't even like staying in. Some of them bounced out entirely. Okay, cool. Good to know. We can adjust properties of individual objects, or actually classes of objects in a sense. Okay, now adjust an individual instance. Head back to the main scene by clicking on the corresponding tab above the viewport. Okay. So, main scene. Select one of the instance ball nodes and in the inspector set its gravity scale value to 10. Gray revert button appears next to the adjusted property. So this shows that we're overriding from the source packed scene. Yes. And then we can revert it to go back to what's in the saved file. Okay. And then one ball will fall faster than the others. You know what we're not going to be able to see? Okay, where's gravity scale? Okay, so we're gone off the end of the scale here. So we watch this ball here and see if it falls faster than the others. They're all falling so quickly, I can't really see that. So let's can I delete a bunch of these? Oh, I don't have a delete key on this key. Oh wait, maybe that's the delete key. Yep. Okay. I'm just gonna have two. This one has the gravity, extra gravity. So the one on the right should fall faster than the one on the left. Yeah, okay. You can see that it did that. Gordon saying that you can play at double speed halogen. See how it goes. Okay. Okay, so yes. Scene instances as a design language. Instances and scenes in Godot offer an excellent design language, setting the engine apart from others out there. We designed Godot around this concept from the ground up. We can recommend dismissing architectural code patterns when making games with Godot, such as model view controller or entity relationship diagrams. Oh, you've been 2D. Oh, sorry, you've been 2 times and also skipping forward 5 seconds occasionally, only a couple minutes away. All right, nearly there. Okay. Instead, start by imagining elements players will see in your game, structure your code around them. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, come up with a diagram like this for any type of game. Each rectangle represents an entity that's visible in the game from the player's perspective. The arrows point towards the instantiator of each scene. Interesting. Here's an example of scene diagram from an open world game with tons of assets and nested elements. So terrain and all of these things are part of the terrain. And the citadel has a house and a church. And the church has a seat in it. The house has a room and a door. Okay. So a hierarchical structure. Where there are objects inside other objects, and they're all kind of bits of the game. So if we started by creating a room, we could then make a couple of different room scenes. Throwback to watching comp lectures at 2 times. I remember someone saying that to me, that I was really easy to listen to in 2 times speed when I was lecturing. And someone else was like, should you be taking that as an insult? And I was like, I don't think so. I think it's okay. Okay. Summary. Instancing is the process of producing an object from a blueprint. Has many handy uses. Throwback. Still happening. Somehow taking twice as long in total. Okay, with scenes, it gives you the ability to divide your game into reusable components, a tool to structure and capture complex systems, a language to think about your game's project structure in a natural way. Oh, Halogen's caught up. Welcome. All right, and that's the end of the stream. Actually, probably getting pretty close to ending, actually, Halogen. Sorry about that. Okay, let's see what we got next. Scripting language. This page has not yet been updated. If you know how to improve this page, or you can confirm that's up to date, feel free to open a pull request. That's giving us more opportunities to take part. Let's leave it now for now. Okay, scripting languages. Overview of the available scripting languages in Godot. Learn the pros and cons of each option. In the next part, you'll write your first script using GDScript. That's good because we know GDScript now. Scripts attach to a node and extend its behavior. Yes. For example, take a game where camera 2D node follows a ship. Camera 2D node follows its parent by default. Imagine you want a camera to shake when the player takes damage. As this feature is not built into Godot, you would attach a script to the camera 2D node and code the shake. Once you start contributing open source, then it becomes so easy to just go, oh, I can just fix it myself. Yeah, I can imagine people would just get into it and just start adding things. Okay. Godot offers 4 gameplay programming languages: GDScript, C#, via its GD extension technology, C and C++. So if we want to get really deep into it, we can do stuff in C++. But I have a feeling that GDScript is going to be the basic way to do things. Especially because I've just gone to all the trouble of learning how to do GDScript. I should probably use it. Oh, cool. We can use multiple languages in a single project. So that's kind of cool where you can just be like, this object we coded in GDScript. This object is coded in C#, and they'll still be able to interact with each other. Right. In a team, you can code gameplay logic in GDScript as it's fast to write, and use C# or C++ to implement complex algorithms and maximize their performance. That's really cool. So if you want to go fast, you can do stuff really explicitly in C++ instead. Or you can just write everything in GDScript or C#. It's your call. Yep. Gordon saying yes. It depends on the repo owners being active. But we had within a couple of days, we had a reply. So I went May 28th. I posted on May 26th. So it was 2 days and got a response on May 28th. And then I'm the slow one because it took me another 4 or 5 days after that to... Oh no, I was a few days to say something and then a couple of days later, because they don't know that I'm on a weekly schedule and I'll only make changes once a week. But yeah, so we'll see what Nathan thinks of this and whether they like the PR. We can watch it later and see what happens. So this is the PR now. So I'll leave this window open and then see what happens. Okay. They're saying if you're a beginner, start with GDScript. I'm happy to do that. It's a blessing to have this super fast response. Yeah. I can imagine most people doing open source stuff are not necessarily getting paid for it, so they're just kind of doing whatever they can do. Whereas Godot might actually have regular staff, and so they would actually watch things. Halogen saying, other than the big project where people being paid to work on it, my other open source PR experience was like a week. Yeah, well, I mean, this wasn't, I mean, like, the thing is, if it was a week, that would be fine, because my cadence is once a week anyway, so it's not like I'm gonna be, like, waiting on their response immediately. But if I see anything change in there, because I got an email alert last time, so if I see anything change in there, I'll post on our Discord to let people know. Okay, for C#, you will need an external code editor like VS Code. They do recommend C# mainly to users who already have experience with the language. I could have used C#, but that's okay. So it seems like there's a code editor in the game engine window, so I could use their code editor. GDScript is an object-oriented imperative code programming language built for Godot. Made by and for game developers to save you time coding games. That's good. Simple syntax leads to short files. Blazing fast compilation and load times. Blazing. Well, we'll see about that. Tight editor integration. I mean, that's the reason you'd use it, because it's made to work in that editor. So it should be able to link into things like the nodes and stuff. Code completion for nodes and signals. More information from the scene it's attached to. Yeah. See, I think that's the key. It has built-in vector and transform types. That's good. Efficient for heavy use of linear algebra, a must for games. Yeah, definitely. It supports multi-threads as efficiently as statically typed languages. All right. I don't really know what the usual issues are there. Halogen just checked. One of them was a week, the other was next day. Okay, so the project you're working on is actually getting checked quite regularly. It has no garbage collection, as this feature eventually gets in the way when creating games. The engine counts references and manages the memory for you in most cases by default, but you can also control memory if you need to. Okay, that's good, because garbage collection can do really weird things. I remember hearing about this with Java, that like Java would like hit a certain point and go, all right, I'm doing garbage collection now. Was it Java or C#? Something like that. And it would do this, and when it hit that point, you'd have this frame spike where you'd have one really slow frame for rendering. And it'd always be hard to like figure out what was happening until you figured out that it was just cleaning up a bunch of old objects, and it was doing them all at the same time rather than like in bits and pieces to space them out so you don't actually get like frame dips or anything. Gradual typing. Variables have dynamic types by default, but you can also use type hints for strong type checks. I think we saw this before, which looked pretty useful. Oh, they're different projects you're talking about, but they're random little C libraries that people have been working on. That's cool. Okay, GDScript looks like Python. Yes, we figured that out. As you structure your code blocks using indentations, but it doesn't work the same way in practice. It's inspired by multiple languages, including Squirrel, Lua, and Python. I have not used Squirrel. I did not know Squirrel was a programming language, but that's cool to know. All right, they have .NET and C#. Yeah. C++. Was there an example we were going to do, or is that next? Oh, that looks like it's next. Okay, creating your first script. In this lesson, you will code your first script to make Godot, the Godot icon turn in circles. As we mentioned in the introduction, we assume you have programming foundations. Well, strangely enough, I used to teach a course called Programming Foundations. So if I don't have them, there's a big problem. Anyway, okay. Tutorials written for GDScript. Yes. Project setup. Please create a new project. Start with a clean slate. Okay, so quit to project list. I think I will wrap up after this, because we'll do the scripting thing, and then it will be a good place to stop. Okay. Scripting tutorial. Especially because it took me a moment to type in tutorial. I had to pause for a second there. I think my brain is nearly out of juice. Okay. Create. Let's go 2D. I assume that was 2D. Your project should contain one picture of the Godot icon, which you often use for prototyping in the community. You need to create a sprite 2D node to display it in the game. In the scene dock, click the other node button. Other node. Let's see. I assume it's a node 2D. Oh no. You type sprite 2D. Double click on the sprite 2D to create the node. Okay, fine. I'll search for it. Okay, so sprite 2D is there. Needs a texture to display. In the inspector on the right, you can see texture property says empty. Oh wait, I'm here already. Texture says empty. Yes. So I wonder if I should. I don't know if this is going to make it. That's all right. We can kind of see that. Actually, I'm going to do these the other way around. Oh, no. No, I don't want that. Yeah, there we go. There we go. There we go. All right. So here we have. This is easy. I won't have to keep swapping back and forth. I should have thought of this earlier. Anyway, texture property empty. To display the Godot icon, click and drag the file icon SVG from the file system dock onto the texture slot. All right, so this is always there. Put that in there and we are visible. You can create Sprite 2D nodes automatically by dragging and dropping images on the viewport. Okay, bring that into the center of the game view, and this is where I'll zoom out a bit. All right, roughly center of the game view. Create a new script. Create and attach a new script to our node. Right click on Sprite 2D in the scene dock and attach script. Oh, what's that? Root node of a scene is recommended to not be transformed since instance of the scene will usually override this. Ooh, I guess that's okay. They don't. Yeah, we'll figure that out later. Okay, attach script. Allows you to select the script's language and file path. GD script. File path is in res. I guess that's resources. I don't know. Change the template field from node default. Oh, wait, here. Template field node field default to object empty. Start with a clean file. Leave the other options set to the default values. Click create. All right, we've got a script. Stuff about C#, we won't bother about that. Extend Sprite 2D, yep. So this is your standard object-oriented inheritance thing. Hello world. Our script currently doesn't do anything. Let's make it print the text hello world to the output bottom panel and get started. Okay, so the init function, we get it to print hello world. Okay, so they're saying function key, keyword defines a new function named init. Yes. This is a special name for our class's constructor. The engine calls init on every object or node upon creating it in memory, if you define this function. Okay, so init is a keyword. It's not something that's for this function. It's probably, what would we call that? An override or a, what is it? Implementing a, it's not a blueprint. I can't remember the name for it that we would use. But anyway, yes, it's the thing where they have the prototype and we implement it, I think. I think I've used too many different languages to remember the terminology for everything. Okay, so the init function is part of the class's constructor. Okay. All right, they're saying to indent things. That's fine. Save the scene as Sprite 2D scene if you haven't already. Then press F6 to run it. Okay, so gonna Control S here, save scene, and then F5 or F6? F6 is run current scene. All right, there's that there, but down here it says hello world, so we know that's working. And then they're saying delete this because they just wanted to show you a function to make sure it was running. And now, time to make our node move and rotate. To do so, we're going to add 2 member variables to our script. The movement speed in pixels per second and the angular speed in radians per second. Add the following after the extend sprite 2D line. Okay, var speed is equal to 400 and var angular speed is equal to pi. Okay, default radians. Okay. To move our icon, we need to update its position and rotation every frame in the game loop. We use the process virtual function of the node class. If you define it in any class that extends the node class, like Sprite2D, Godot will call the function every frame and pass it an argument named delta. Yes, we've seen this before. So again, the underscores are the sign of the already implemented functions. Okay, so we're going to process, and then the rotation is going to be plus equals the angular speed multiplied by the delta. And I assume we're also going to do the speed somewhere. Oh no, we're just going to do this first. Run the scene, see the Godot icon turn in place. Oh wait, run scene, not run project. So it's F6. Sweet, rotation is happening. Now we're going to take the velocity. Interesting. So the velocity is going to be the current angular speed multiplied by the actual movement speed. Oh no, it's actually what is the up vector of the object. So as it turns, it's going to be moving upwards all the time. Okay. So inside the process function, we're going to get our velocity. And it's a vector 2 up vector rotated on rotation. Oh, this is where my width of text is going to cause a problem. So this is the rotation, is the current angle of the object, which is going to be editing. Where would it be? A transform. So it's editing its rotation. And this is a vector of where it's pointing up. Where it's up is rotated to. And then we multiply that by its movement speed, which is 400. And so it should be moving in the direction of its up. And its position, which is that, will be modified by its current velocity times by delta for frame time. Okay. I just pressed Control S by default there, but I don't know whether this thing was saved or not saved, because it seemed to run last time regardless of whether I saved it. Nice. Okay, so it's always moving upwards, and as it rotates, it means upwards is a different direction every time. Sweet. That's working. Moving a node like that does not take into account colliding with the walls or the floor. In your first 2D game, you'll learn another approach to moving objects while detecting collisions. So we'll probably have some kind of physics calculation and stuff then. Our node currently moves by itself. In the next part, listening to player input, we use player input to control it. Okay. That's the full file for reference. That's what we did. And the next thing is player input. Also, we can drive it around. Cool. All right. I should stop there though, because it's like 11 and we've been going for a while. But I will continue this later, and probably next stream we will be able to do and maybe complete this first 2D game, and then I'll be in a position to actually start using Godot to actually make my own stuff once I've figured out how to do bits and pieces, and we'll start prototyping things and stuff like that. But I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Thank you for coming along, everyone. So we had a bit of fun today. Actually, you know what I'll do? What I'll do is go back to this scene and say, what's the date? Oh, it's June. Oh my God. Oh, time really goes, doesn't it? Okay. So, what did we do today? We contributed a possible solution to GD script tutorials. That didn't go as a link, did it? Hang on. Don't know why. Let's just manually turn it into a link. Kept going on learning Godot, this time using the editor itself. Wait, is that still running in the background? No, okay, good. It's like I still have this little Godot logo running around. Next time we're going to continue learning Godot and maybe get to the point where we have enough skills to start actually making. Oh, I'm gonna say prototyping. Because we got a long way to go, I think. Especially because we only work for like 2-3 hours once a week. It's always going to be slow, but it's actually kind of fun nonetheless. All right, so that's where we're up to. Thanks all for coming. It's been great to have you, and also I think a lot of fun to have my first random open source contribution. Let's see what they think of it, whether we should change anything afterwards and stuff like that. But I think what we ended up coming up with was actually quite a simple, elegant solution where you don't have to worry too much. We didn't have to change the way their code ran or anything like that for it to work. So hopefully that's okay. And with that, I will leave you for another week. I'll see you next week. We've got a good idea what we're going to be doing is continuing learning how to use Godot, and hopefully getting to the point where we finish the 2D game tutorial, and then we'll start thinking about how we actually start making the game and things like that. Okay, see you soon. Thank you all for coming along.